The Miami Heat came close to the NBA Finals this past season, but what do they need to do to overcome, and does it involve Donovan Mitchell? The Heat have been consistent contenders in the Eastern Conference for years now since they got Jimmy Butler. He helped them get to the NBA Finals in the bubble playoffs, but it wasn't enough. Then in the following season, they lost to the future champs in the Bucks, and then lost to the Boston Celtics this season, who then lost to the Golden State Warriors. So many feel the squad needs a little bit of a boost, and perhaps a superstar from Utah might be exactly what it is that they're looking for. Number 6. Donovan Mitchell. Nothing lasts forever. We know this to be true. Still, it feels like the dissolution of the relationship between NBA star Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz is coming about rather abruptly due to all that is happening with the team right now. The Jazz entered the 2021-2022 season with legitimate title aspirations. They ended up getting eliminated in the first round of the playoffs despite Luka Doncic not being available for the first 3 games of the series. There have been a lot of rumors surrounding Mitchell and Rudy Gobert after the Jazz experienced yet another disappointing early postseason exit. It appears at this juncture that Gobert is the more likely of the 2 Jazz stars to be dealt if either of them gets moved at all. However, the Heat should be keeping a close eye on Mitchell. The Miami Heat have been mentioned as a potential blockbuster trade candidate, and if Mitchell were to be available, they could field an enticing offer. But obviously, such a trade would need to have a lot going for it to be made possible. So what are the options on the table here? We'll show you how that one could work. Number 5. Trade option number 1. Utah Jazz receive guard Tyler Hero, center Omer Yurtseven, forward Duncan Robinson, 2023 first-round pick Miami, 2026 first-round pick Miami. Miami Heat receive guard Donovan Mitchell. Now, it's not often a team is forced to trade a star in the 25 and under club for their immediate replacement. The Miami Heat are in a position to offer the Utah Jazz that exact opportunity. Now, admittedly, this is a steep price for the Heat to pay. Hero is likely to be awarded as the 6th Man of the Year in 2021-2022. That is quite an accomplishment for the 22-year-old. The cost shouldn't concern the Heat, though. Miami is a premier free agent destination. First-round picks aren't as valuable to them as a small market club. Now, on the surface, there is a case to be made that making a big trade isn't necessary for the Heat, considering they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. However, their lack of backcourt production makes it challenging to justify just running it back. A small market club like the Jazz, for example, if they're dealing Donovan Mitchell, they'll want to require some draft compensation. This deal arms them with 2 first-round selections in addition to some promising young players. If Mitchell demands a trade, they may not find a better offer. And when it comes to deals, it's all about the trade and whether you can make it work for you, or else you'll be remembered for making a bad deal. Number 4. Why the Heat might do this. Given the core that the Miami Heat has relied on as one of recent seasons, it might seem odd that they're willing to dump some of them to get Donovan Mitchell. The truth of the matter, though, is that the Heat need another mega talent to complement Jimmy Butler, and Mitchell is absolutely that. To be clear, Tyler Hero is supremely talented, but his gifts fall well short of Donovan Mitchell's. At 22, he still has time to make up the ground between the two, but it's far from a safe bet. In acquiring Mitchell, the Heat are effectively landing the player they hope that Hero can become. A big 3 of Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo make for one of the most talented trios in the NBA. Pairing Mitchell with Kyle Lowry in the backcourt doesn't hurt either. Simply put, the Heat are in the championship business. This deal gives them the starriest roster they've had since LeBron James took his talents to South Beach. It doesn't come without risks. Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry are both aging out of their primes. It is possible that this deal doesn't yield a championship and the Heat miss those draft picks badly. But no matter, fortune favors the brave. The Miami Heat have generally operated as a franchise that understands that. Number 3. Why the Jazz might go for this. Giving up their best player in a deal generally isn't optimal. The Jazz are unequivocally doing that here. But still, if they're forced to, this trade does give them plenty of options. They could choose to remain competitive. Hero could be a leap away from making up a large portion of Mitchell's production. With Rudy Gobert manning the defense, the Jazz always have a chance. They could tinker with this roster and avoid a route this organization has not traditionally taken, a full-scale rebuild. Now, on the other hand, they could break from convention. Omer Yurtseven has had a surprisingly solid rookie season. The Jazz could view the much younger big man as their new starter. That allows them to move Gobert in a separate trade for more young players and draft capital. It's hard to say which route the Jazz would choose, but regardless, this trade gives them something teams don't generally have when a star demands a trade: options. Number 2, win now versus win later. When it comes to team sports as a whole, there are usually 2 options that many like to think about: winning now versus winning later. There are teams that know that they're not going to contend, so they do the best with what they have and then build up the talent that they know can go and then work to build a team around them, or luck into a major draft pick or signing trade. But for a team like the Miami Heat, who just 2 seasons ago was in the NBA Finals, they are absolutely in a win-now mode. They have Jimmy Butler, who the whole league knows can play out of his dang mind if he's allowed to. He basically willed them to the finals in the bubble playoffs and almost got them to the finals again this year, despite an injury in the fight against the Celtics. In contrast, the Utah Jazz are apparently done with the team that hasn't advanced as far as they wanted. The team hasn't reached the NBA Finals since the days of Karl Malone and John Stockton, and that was the Jordan era of basketball if you recall. They had their chance with Mitchell and other players, but it never worked out via injuries or just playing better teams. They're in the win-later mode, and so their pieces are available. If Miami can get Mitchell, they'll be leveled up, and that's what they need right now. Number 1, the Eastern Conference. Here's the thing, the Eastern Conference used to be the dregs of the league because for years you had 1, maybe 2 contenders that would go on to face the best of the West, which has oftentimes been stacked with great teams. But in the past few seasons, many of the teams got their acts together. The Celtics, the Heat, the Bulls, they all had major upgrades this season before injuries derailed them. The Bucks finally won the title, and so on. And you got up-and-comers on teams like the Charlotte Hornets that could make things more bothersome for the top teams if they don't continue to grow. Many felt that the Heat would beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, but they didn't, and though Boston lost in the finals, they know they can make it there with their squad, and they're going to try and make that happen. Miami has a lot of competition going into the offseason, so a major move is honestly a must. It could be Mitchell for sure, or it could be someone else. It just depends on how things fly and what deals are done. But what do you think? What do you think of this look at the Miami Heat and where they find themselves in terms of needing to get another big player in order to help them get an NBA Finals victory? Do you think that if they were to get Donovan Mitchell that things might take a turn? Or will they need more than him to overcome the power structure of the Eastern Conference? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.